You told me one time one of the great questions to ask. If you want me to support you, how can I hold you accountable? What do you need
Yeah.
from me as a
Yeah.
parent, as a support system? And so if I look at my kid and I'm like, there's no way he's going to do it. He's going to feel that or she's going to feel that. They're going to kind of adapt to that. And what do we always say? You always find what you're looking for. So you're going to start having that lens of they can't do it. And they're going to feel that.
Love that. Yeah. Are we going to add weight to their backpack of unneeded expectations, or are we going to help take weight out of it?
Welcome to Limitless Minds, the podcast where curiosity meets greatness. If you're ready to discover what it takes to be truly limitless and push beyond your own limits, you're in the right place.
Welcome, everyone, to the Success Leaves Clues podcast by Limitless Minds. I'm Travis Thomas. That's Josh Liftreich. Josh, how are we doing today?
Hello, how we doing? Summer series is here for most of us, the children that we have. For those of you who have children, we got about 2 weeks left of school.
Man. My youngest is graduating high school in less than 2 weeks, Josh, and it's a new chapter in our lives. So the summer series idea that we came up with was, we're moving into summer. Kids are super active, whether they're doing camps or they're doing summer teams, they're doing summer leagues, they're doing all these things. But in a lot of ways, especially with those middle school, high school age kids that you have, they're thinking about tryout season in the fall, right? The end of the summer, tryouts, whether it's the varsity team or whether it's the big club team in their area. And Josh and I, not only do we have kids, right? We've been helping athletes for many, many years with the mental side of things. We're like, hey, what a great audience that they're taking road trips. They're in the car. Josh, they got some time to listen to some podcasts.
And I'll say this too, Travis. One of the things that I saw in just in youth athletics in general is the summer can be an incredible separator. It can be a great time to work on the things that you didn't get to work on because you had games or, the practices were scheduled, like ate up the time to work on the individual skills and things of that nature. So I think, this is a good just series for people to listen to in terms of if you're a youth athlete, we're going to give you some tips on how you can mentally improve during this period. If you're a youth parent, if you're a parent of a youth, not a youth parent, that'd be weird.
Yeah,
A parent of a
no
youth
judgment.
athlete. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. That's one of the big things is to stay flexible. If you're the parent of a youth athlete, we're going to have some tools and tips for you all too, that we've seen some of the elite athletes and maybe some of the things that their parents did. So we're going to share those with you as well.
Awesome. And again, in the spirit of, right, less is more, do simple better, right? We're going to try to keep these podcasts a little bit shorter than our other ones where we're not doing the long interview style. And so, we're gonna give everyone some nuggets, Josh, some nuggets of insight and inspiration. But speaking of nuggets, Josh,
Nuggets.
It reminds me of some Nooch nuggets.
We haven't talked about Nooch nuggets in a minute. It's been a second, Travis, since we've been on here. Travis, I have a neutral nugget. I had the opportunity, and we use that word term loosely, to go to my dentist today.
Oh, this is going to be a good Nooch nugget. Let's go.
I do not love the dentist. I appreciate dentists. I appreciate the work they do. I don't like having people jam things in my mouth. And
I hear you.
I don't know, just personal preference. So, just going today and the dental hygienist, she's cleaning my teeth and she's just like, you don't like this very much, do you? And I guess I recognized that I may have left handprints in the side of side of the dental chairs. I was squeezing so hard. I was so tense. And so she just reminded me to take a couple deep breaths, just relax. And I use the opportunity to practice my relaxation techniques and just get a little bit more peaceful. So that was my Nooch nugget today.
I love it.
Recognizing the call out that I was really tense and stressed out. The fact that maybe my jaw wasn't like hinging correctly might have been a clear indication of that. But then catching myself thinking bad, being tense, and then releasing and working and doing my breathing techniques.
I love that she noticed it too. She's like, she could notice the body language, right? The tension.
Yeah, exactly. A giant stiff board in the freaking the dental chair. Like, yikes! Things in my mouth.
So Josh, we're gonna wrap that in some mint floss with fluoride.
100%.
Your Nooch nugget,
definitely mint. Definitely mint.
I love it. All right, love that Nooch nugget. Again, we can apply them anywhere from the dentist chair to the airplane to any situation. My Nooch nugget, Josh, in the spirit of youth sports and being parents of youth athletes. Really excited. My son, he and his doubles partner, they're playing in the state doubles tournament this week. They
Nice.
qualified for state. And I've noticed when I go and watch him play tennis, they're like, I'm coaching myself while I'm watching him play. Meaning I'm coaching and that resistance to, do I need to say something? If I do say something, what do I actually want to say? And am I saying something to make myself feel better, or am I saying something to help him? And the cool thing about it, obviously, I'm not supposed to be coaching him from the stands, but a word of encouragement or just doing anything. And it just reminds me, I remember doing some youth talks in the past, Josh. I would say to parents, I was like, hey, as soon as you notice yourself getting emotionally sort of impacted by the game, it's no longer about your child's experience, it's about your experience. Right. So how you now respond, just know how you respond. It's really not about what they're doing. It's all the baggage that you have that's sort of coming to the surface. So choose wisely. Right. So that fact of I noticed myself when I would see him hit a bad shot or make a boneheaded mistake. Right. I'm noticing my own frustration. And so I'm having to get neutral. Right. So finding that power in the pause, getting neutral, asking myself, right, do I need to say something? Or, and if I do, is it going to be supportive or is it going to be out of frustration? And so I end up using neutral to coach myself so that I don't, regret sort of saying something or just beating myself up for, why did I really let myself get that frustrated during his tennis match? So there you have it.
So you catching yourself getting
Yes.
emotional at your son's tennis match and adjusting and getting to neutral was the big key there. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
absolutely.
because we're on the tennis court, and I often think about Gatorade on the tennis court. That's what you're getting dipped in, Gatorade on
Oh,
the tennis court.
little Gatorade, little lemon lime.
Yeah,
How about
orange
that?
Gatorade, orange
Oh,
Gatorade to be
orange
specific.
Gatorade. Okay, kind of looks like buffalo
Yeah.
sauce. I'll go there. Yeah, let's do it.
I love it. I love it. And that brings us, here we go. You're talking about youth sports, and that's really what we're going to do today is talk about, as parents, how do we support our kids during the summer, right? We just mentioned it. The summertime can be an absolute separator, and it's also a nice time for kids to kind of regenerate and recharge.
Yeah.
And so how do we form that balance? How do we help our kids do the things they need to do to accelerate their growth during this literally about 8-week period that they have in between the end of school and the beginning of the next school year? So that's really what we're gonna do. And so I want to, we can just dive into it, Travis. For
Yeah.
you, what have you noticed, helps your son,
Yeah.
daughter, whatever,
Yeah.
or seen parents do, or have read research about that really helps allow that athlete to take control of their own career, so we as parents don't have to micromanage them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the great thing about this for you and I is that we're not only have we been working with athletes ourselves for 20 plus years, we have our own kids. And so we understand sort of being in those shoes and having, 3 kids myself, and they're all different. They're all wired differently. Their personality is different. Their motivation's different. Their passion is different. And often learning the hard way that you can't, coach or parent them all the same way. I think the thing that my wife and I sort of have done more intentionally, sort of with our kids would be, it's like as parents, because we know better, and right, we look at our child's performance and we see their potential based on our perspective. And
Yes.
often we're holding them up against our version of their potential instead of maybe their version of their potential, or even possibly what they even care about. And so I think for parents to have, really like peer-to-peer conversations with their kids when it comes to sport in general, and just asking them like, hey, whether it's a tryout that they're going to have or a team that they want to be on, or whether it's trying out for a team in the high school, and just having a conversation like, hey, what's your goal, right? What do you want to get out of this experience? Like, what's what's your goal? Is your goal to make the team? Why? Like, why is that important to you? Help me understand what you want this experience to look like. How serious you are about this? Are you doing this just to be with your friends? Are you doing this because you want to advance to another level? Do you want to play in college? Or is this just about, having a good experience? if we start to have that conversation and understand maybe what their goals are and what their motivations are, then we can kind of back out a little bit from holding them to our standard and really helping them achieve what their goals and aspirations are.
Yeah, any great coaches that I've been around have had conversations with their athletes versus dictation towards their athletes. You know, they've listened, they've talked to them. They've now I get it, like at an elite level, there's certain things that,
Yeah.
whatever, man. If you're here just to be a goofball and be part of the team, that's probably not going to cut it at the Division 1 level, right? We get that. However, if you are there, like, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What do you want to accomplish? And I think
Yeah.
having those little conversations with your athletes, sometimes your children, who happen to be athletes, can really help them. You can really help them explore
Yeah.
what it's going to take in order to get there.
Yeah, I remember, Josh, a conversation. I probably had it a few times with my youngest son, who, was a good, is a good soccer. Actually, he's going to play soccer next year in college, but was a good player. He was probably 13, 14 at the time, and we were over summer break, and I was noticing, like, he was going to be moving into whether it was a high school season or the next club tryouts, and he just really wasn't putting in a lot of extra effort. Right? I kind of like, I kind of understand what the fitness level is going to be needed for him to be successful. And he's someone that just wasn't really sort of naturally motivated to put in the extra work.
Right.
And I remember, and I'm noticing myself getting frustrated with him. And I remember having a conversation a few different times and saying, "Hey, buddy, listen, your mom and I are not the ones who are going to micromanage your experience. You know that we're not going to be the ones that force you to get up early, to force you to go out and work out, that force you. We're not going to force your experience. So we just want you to know we love you, we support you. Of course, I want to see you be successful, but we're not going to be the ones who are forcing you to put in the extra time." And then it can it can kind of like transition into a conversation a little bit, like, how are you feeling? What are you noticing? Like, is there a reason, how do you want to be prepared by the end of the summer? And so, being honest about how I feel about it, kind of setting like, "Hey, just so you know, your mom and I aren't going to be the ones that are driving this, but help us understand where you're coming from."
Yeah, it's almost like your career, and hey, we're here to support you,
Yeah.
but we're not gonna be the ones who, like, get up and with the alarm to wake you up out of bed and, and pull you out. And I think there's a kind of a couple interesting things there. What happens with that now, we've all heard stories of sport athletes who were, like, on top of their kid
Mhm.
and, we're training them individually for, like, 4 hours a day and stuff like
The,
that.
the the Todd
And I
Marinoviches of the world, right? And
Yes, yes,
yes,
yes,
yes, a
yes.
little bit
So
overbearing, maybe a
yeah,
little bit
Andre
overbearing. Yeah.
Agassi, I was thinking,
Yes.
like, his story
Yeah.
is
Tiger Woods.
incredible,
Yes.
and credit to him too for, managing that eventually in his
Yeah.
life. It took him a
Yeah.
long time, but I think there is something to be said about allowing your child to have to manage their own self, have to
Yeah.
figure out, hey, what, like, having that autonomy of like, okay, here's what I gotta do. Now, here's the other thing about that. What I've seen too is boundaries really help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Believe it or not, like, boundaries really help. Like, like, when you don't have that structure, people like structure. They really do.
Yeah.
It's called,
Yeah.
we talk about it in leadership stuff all the time about understanding, like, clarity is kindness and clarity creates velocity.
Yeah.
So if you can help them create a little structure for themselves,
Right.
again, not creating it for them, but having that conversation and maybe setting it up with them and pulling out a calendar and being like, "Hey, okay, so you show me what you're thinking about in terms of the amount of workouts you want to do this week, and
Mhm.
show me where those would be. Is there a camp you're thinking about going to?" Those types of conversations really help. I've been lucky enough to have my youngest son, who I've talked about a couple times on this podcast, is highly, highly motivated. He will, like, he goes and, like, it's Sunday afternoon and we're just hanging out and he's just like, "Okay, I'm gonna go." I'm like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm gonna get some shots up. I gotta get my 3 hours a day in.
Yeah.
I gotta get more, because he has a very specific goal, and his very specific goal is to make the high school varsity team.
Yeah.
Now that's probably gonna be 2 years from now as it grows, but that's his mindset. And I'm very, very lucky with that. Now, along with that, I will remind him and I'll ask him, "Hey, are you going to the gym today? What's your plan today?" Not judgmental, just kind of
Hmm.
curiosity. And
Hmm.
then also too, like help him provide rides. He's lucky enough the basketball court he could shoot at is like
Yeah.
a biking
Yeah.
distance. So he just bikes over there. But one of the things we did do was we talked about the summer and we said, okay, here's what you have this summer. These 2 weeks, you're going to be on vacation. This week, you're going to be at a competition. Okay, so here's the 6 weeks we have left. What are you going to do during those 6 weeks? So that's the next conversation is actually plotting it out on the calendar and planning it out. We got 2 weeks to get that done.
I love that. Yeah, and I love that. The structure, the clearest kind, like you talked about. And again, when I think about my youngest, right, as he got older and he was taking on more sort of responsibility and accountability for himself. And I remember even to that point, right, we would be on quote unquote vacation maybe for a week or two, and he wants to sleep in a lot and he wants to do all this stuff. And so like, all right, we want to honor what you need, but then it would be like, hey, can we make sure that we're getting up every day by X time, right? And when you get up, right, we're not going to tell you what kind of workout that you need to do, but hey, you need to get up by a certain time and do something that is going to prepare you for the upcoming season, right? And so again, we weren't scheduling everything out for him, but we could see that he also understood, like,
Yeah,
hey, I do need a little bit of a nudge from you all, right? The little nudge is helpful. When the nudge becomes a remote control, that's different. But
yeah,
it was understanding that relationship a little bit, and then conversely, Josh, like you said, my other son is probably overly motivated. He's a runner, right? And there would be times where like it's a thunderstorm, lightning storm out, and he's like, I got to get my miles in. I got to get my miles in. We're like, hold on now, hold on, Prefontaine. Like, yeah, you need to get your miles in, but what the coach said that we need to get these miles in every day. Like, hold on, pretty sure that coach is going to be okay with you taking the evening off so that you don't get struck by lightning,
or
right?
just picked
And
up by that tornado or anything like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a good way to get those miles in as well. Just getting
yeah,
thrown,
just get in the
right?
tornado and zoop right up. Yeah, that's
Thrown
good.
a couple
That's
other
good.
miles. But then again, like every child is different. And so being able to, be in relationship with them where it feels more like a partnership instead of sort of controlling their experience.
Absolutely. And I think, you told me one time one of the great questions to ask is how can I if you want me to support you, how can I hold you accountable? What do you need
Yeah.
from me as a
Yeah.
parent, as a support system? Not again, it's your career. It's your schedule. And I know we're talking about 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids and a lot of
Yeah.
times you're like looking at it and going, "Man, I don't think they." But there's this thing called the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And so if I look at my kid and I'm like, there's no way he's going to do it. He's going to feel that or she's going to feel that.
Yeah.
And they're going to kind of adapt to that. And what do we always say? You always find what you're looking for. So you're going to start having that lens of they can't do it. And they're going to feel that.
Yeah.
So the
Absolutely.
the flip side of that is you get a choice on how to decide to look at your kid. Now you could say, "Hey, I'm going to do it," and they're going to disappoint you. But I would rather be that way, Travis, to be like, "Hey, they can do it," and be positive towards them and truly believe in them, and
Yeah.
then be disappointed if they don't do it, than to be the other way and really undercut them. I mean, again,
Yeah.
we're a
Yeah.
support system for them, and so that's the big thing too is to ask them clearly, "Hey, how can your mom and I, how can we hold you accountable to this? What do you want me to do if you do miss 3 days of practice?"
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
to that nature.
I love that. Yeah. Are we going to add weight to their backpack of unneeded expectations, or are we going to
Ooh,
help take weight out of it? And sometimes as parents, like we have the best intentions, but our expectations become a heavy, a heavy burden that goes in that backpack. But to your point, what can we do to release or free some of that so that they are able to just really have a sense of freedom in their experience? Which again, Josh, kind of gets us to the one idea that we wanted to share today, which comes from Trevor Moad. You and I both heard this analogy at different times over the years, and this has been one of my favorite ones, Josh, because I felt like whether working with teams or just working with individuals, whether they're adults or kids, I mean, I think this idea, right, just resonates. And the analogy is simply this, right? If let's say you want to be on a soccer team or whatever the sport, and the idea would be, let's say at the end of the week, or actually the beginning of the week, the coach gives everyone one raffle ticket. and gives everybody in the room a raffle ticket and says, hey, whoever makes the team or whoever the starters are for the next game are going to be based on whatever raffle tickets I pull out at the end of the week. Everybody starts with one ticket. But he says, listen, all week, every time you make a good choice or a good decision, you get an extra raffle ticket. So you go out there and you have a good training today, you get a raffle ticket. You worked on, one of your weaknesses, you get a good raffle ticket. You're a good teammate, raffle ticket. You ate well, get a raffle ticket. You slept well, get a good raffle ticket. And your only job, Josh, is to get as many tickets today as you can get. And then wake up tomorrow and get more tickets. And then, you know what? You didn't have a great today. You only got a couple tickets. What are you going to do tomorrow? Get more tickets. And then at the end of the week, you're sitting there, you've got a basket of tickets, and all your teammates, they've got a basket of tickets, and the coach is going to start pulling out raffle tickets. And here's what you and I, Josh, know. If I have a ton of raffle tickets because I did the right thing all week, is my ticket guaranteed to get pulled out?
No.
No.
It is not guaranteed to get pulled out.
No.
It is not guaranteed to get pulled out, but you've given yourself the best chance. And that's the key. That's the key for parents out there. Is your kid getting the best chance to be successful? Yeah. Are they setting themselves up for success? Not guaranteed, but they can do everything they can and control the controllables, right?
Yeah. So whether that is, yes, my ticket got pulled, or no, disappointment, my ticket didn't get pulled, especially when it's disappointment, right? What's my goal now starting the next week?
Get as many raffle tickets as I can.
Get as many tickets as I can. Same thing. Nothing changes. So, right, we talk about controlling the controllables. Now I'm focused on controlling the only thing that I can control, which is getting tickets based on what? Doing the right thing, getting better, the right behaviors, the right mindset. Same thing. And if we were to ask anyone, if you keep doing that repeatedly and getting tickets, it's just a matter of time.
Yep.
It's not if, but when.
Yep. It's not a matter of if, only a matter of when. 100%.
Yes. Yeah. And then finally your ticket gets pulled and you're excited and you're like, finally it happened. What's your assignment starting the next week?
Same thing.
Get tickets. So as a parent, I just love, right? As a parent, like my child wakes up, whether they're on summer break, and instead of saying, here's everything you have to do today, Josh, I can simply say, hey, how many tickets are you going to get today?
How many tickets are you going to get today?
Yeah.
I hit the weight room. I got 500 shots up.
Awesome. Great job. Yeah. And you can reinforce it. Awesome. And at the end of the day, hey, buddy, hey, man, how many tickets did you get today?
Yeah. Love it.
And then
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. And I also think too, there's this piece of, when they do that, again, they're accruing the opportunity for themselves. They're taking ownership of it. The other thing, I'll just say, this is the last thing. Sometimes having that specificity can be really helpful too. So, if you find with your child, they like clear-cut objectives. Hey, your goal today is to get 5 tickets. How are you going to get 5 tickets? Something to that nature can be really helpful. I've seen it. I remember vividly one summer we had a young soccer player. We were at IMG together, and this girl was there the entire summer, and she was going to get better because she was out at the fields for 8 hours a day and in the weight room, the whole 9 years. It was inevitable. But I remember Trevor, our great mentor, challenged her, and he said, "Your goal is to be able to juggle the ball 200 times consecutively."
Yeah.
And she would come in, and he's like, "You can use our offices anytime you want to come and practice." And she would be in there all the time, just practicing her juggling, Of course, she got 200 by the end of the summer. The sense of accomplishment she had.
Yep.
Her technique got better. Her touch got better. Right. And then also this understanding of like, oh, if I put my mind to it, I can actually achieve something. And I just love that. So having that specific thing sometimes is really, really good for them to shoot for too.
And the cool thing about it, and I think as parents and with your child, right, turn this into a game, make it fun.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like, because we're talking about tickets, right? It could be pennies in a jar. It can be gumballs. It can be anything. And to have that visual representation, think about at the beginning of the summer to the end of the summer, you've got a little cookie jar or you got a little glass bowl, and like, hey, every time all summer, at the end of the day, we'll check in. Hey, how many tickets did you get today? Yeah. And we're gonna fill that jar up with whatever we want to fill it up with, and they can see that progress. They can see the progress as summer goes on.
Yeah, I always said too, like, hey, you get 50 tickets, and I'm gonna buy myself a key lime pie. So that's awesome for me. So get those 50 tickets. I will buy myself a key lime pie to eat.
It's a partnership.
It's a win-win for me.
They get fitter, you get fatter, Josh.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how that goes.
Because I love a key lime pie. Just for me.
Yeah.
Just for me.
Oh, What a great way to wrap up the first session,
Get
Josh,
your tickets here
and then get some key lime pie. Get your
during the
tickets.
summer.
Awesome. Well, hey, and we would love to hear from those of you who are listening, parents, athletes, those of you who are listening, tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments section what getting tickets are going to look like for you this summer. Or as you're getting tickets, put them in our comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, you can both. And then the other thing I'll say this too, Travis, I'm going to speak for you right now. Sorry.
Please do.
We are both on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So feel free to, go on there, connect with us. And then, if you have some other questions that you want in terms of, we're here for you. We really are. And so just DM us, just hit us up and, send us a message and we'd be glad to answer any questions you have. You can definitely get us on LinkedIn. You can obviously get us through the Limitless Minds website as well, where you can subscribe and hit that subscribe button over and over and over.
Smash
again.
it. Smash it.
Smash
That's
it.
right.
Smash the subscribe
Let's
button.
turn this into a dialogue. Awesome. That's our summer session lesson 1, Josh. Crushed it. Get your tickets.
Thank you so much. And as we always say here at Limitless Minds, you don't have to be sick. You get better.